Good morning, afternoon or evening, and welcome to another 0AD Alpha 23 replay analysis. This week's game is actually not featuring myself. It is a match between Borg and DoctorOrgans. Now, both of these guys are absolutely fantastic players, although Borg is well known as being the best player and recently won the 0AD championship. But it's a match, anyway, that is very interesting, and as Borg is playing as Mauryans, it's a good chance after my recent analysis of the Mauryans as a faction to see them used by a really top player. So let's have a look and see how it goes. So we join the action with the left hand side of the board in light blue, or board, I always call it that, but it's not a board, is Borg, and this is a nice little trick. You saw that he put his elephant straight in and then knocked him straight out the other side, which saved him walking around. Very good use of time. He'll do that again shortly, so I'll try and focus on it a bit when it happens. And the other side of the map, what we have is DoctorOrgans, and he's playing as the Persians. Now he's followed a fairly standard approach of getting 6 women to begin with, sending his men off to go and cut wood and the women to get a farmstead, and he's put that there because they're barely distinguishable, but you can see here there are some berries. So his opponent, however, Borg, watch what he does with the elephant here. This is so cool. It's like magic. Pops out one side, pops in one side, pops out the other. But he's actually just gone straight away for cavalry. So he's ordered cavalry. He's now got 5 of them, and he's using the elephant very well as a mobile drop site. So these, whatever they are, wildebeest, are going to be killed, and the elephant is going to work as a brilliant drop site, which means that he can deliver those that much more quickly. Now, hunting's the best way to gather food if you can do it. So he obviously thinks that 5 of these guys collecting food will be sufficient, and he's got as a fallback these berries with a farmstead. Oh no, sorry, he's got the berries going as well. Strangely, I'll just follow this something. He's actually managed to house himself, which actually maybe not. It'll only be for a matter of seconds. He's timed that almost perfectly, but not quite. So he's a little bit behind, but I think it's fairly. In fact, no. Yeah, he saw he went for 6 and then had to come down to 4 because he realised that he didn't have sufficient housing. So he's going now to build another house, and he's going to have to get a few of those up to make sure that he keeps his ability to produce at its maximum. Now the Mauryans will allow him to have additional population as opposed to the Persians, but nonetheless we'll see how the game goes in terms of whether it actually becomes useful, because what you can find sometimes is that you want to get a really quick rush. The map kind of, I think in this case it would definitely suit that, because there's so few resources that what you really want to be doing is trying to finish this off as soon as possible. Now he's sending his horses off here, and the cavalry are just going to scout. They're going to look around the opponent's base. What they're also going to do is look out for stuff to hunt, which is pretty smart. So it's one thing if you can get the animals near your base, but if you can also manage to hunt the animals near your opponent's base, then that is even better, because you're doing you double good. You're getting yourself food, but you're also denying your opponent food. If you're familiar with football in the UK, it's kind of like a 6-pointer. We would describe it. There are only 3 points available, but actually, if you win and your opponent loses, the difference between if they win and you lose is 6 points. So when you're close to someone in the table, that's what you'd call it, and that's a rough analogy of what that is. So you see his elephant is in the middle of the map. He's just wandering up to get to where these deer or gazelles are, and he's just getting a bit of an idea of what's going on around there, and then he's going to come back and hunt those. All the while this has been going on, he's been just getting as much wood as possible and making sure that he can keep his population up. Let's see if he's got a couple of idle people, which isn't ideal, but he's now on to farming. Doesn't have the farming upgrade, doesn't have the wood cutting upgrade, which is interesting. He's gone for neither of those, but he's focused entirely, I suppose, on just getting his population up. So here we can see the elephant finally arrives. Here are the gazelles, and very nice bit of play. Kills a gazelle with one go, and he's just trying to keep the gazelles as close as possible to the elephant. He's not done a very good job on that particular one, but you know, even the best of us aren't perfect. So he now, if we look back at the base, he's obviously just collecting stuff there. He's still producing. I mean, he's got really good spread of resources. They're pretty much going. You know, he's not getting too much of either food or wood as opposed to the other one. He's managing to keep himself from being housed while using only 2 people to build, which means that he's not got lots of people away from gathering resources. He's quite fortunate he got this clump of trees that's quite close together, because with these sort of maps that doesn't always happen that way. You can end up like over this part, for instance, where wherever you put, and he's had to put a storehouse right in the middle, there's still quite a long walk for all of them. But it's a different type of game when you're playing in this with the lack of wood. It really changes the way that you need to look at the game and look at how you're going to approach it. And Borg has done a good job here, certainly. If we have a look at the resources, DoctorOrgans has got far too much. I mean, I will just actually quickly go and look at DoctorOrgans here. He's got far more wood than he needs, and he's now actually, he's just able to do so. But having said that, he's using that to build a barracks, so he's done quite well. He's had got 2 farmsteads, a storehouse here, a storehouse here. Like I said before, it's always tricky with these sort of maps, because you've not got the wood that you would have on your ordinary map just readily available. He's managed to house himself, but is just in the process of unhousing himself now. He's got, as the Persians, houses that take longer to build and cost more wood, but offer a population cap bonus of 10, whereas the Mauryans are on the other side of that. They have smaller houses that are quicker to build, but they only have a 5 bonus, which means you need to keep building them more often. So let's see. Oh, his troops his horses have come in there, but they've been chased off quite comfortably. DoctorOrgans doesn't need to worry about that at all. Those guys were, I think they were probably just hunting, in fact. They weren't actively looking to get involved in an altercation, and that's been survived relatively comfortably. So if we're approaching sort of nearly 7 minutes, and the population, well, Borg's got like a 16 population bonus on DoctorOrgans at this point, and these are, you know, solid populations, particularly considering the map. These ones you're always slower to develop because of the need for wood and the lack of wood. You end up having to produce more women than you would ordinarily, although he's managed to get 14 archers and is also in the process of building this barracks. And the barracks for the Mauryans is one of those that costs only wood, so this map is doubly frustrating, and Borg is still handling it rather well. Whereas if we have a look here, I don't actually know what the barracks there is. It's also one that costs only wood, so they're in the same boat. Both of them relying on wood, and both of them not having really very much available. But again, this is very good play. He's found another group of animals. Off goes the elephant to become the mobile drop site, and these cavalry are there. So I think, certainly from watching this, I would say if you've got this kind of map and you're playing as Mauryans, actually producing cavalry as opposed to other citizen soldiers is actually a really good way of getting your food early on, and you just need to basically try and keep up the wood that's required. So it's been a really solid performance. You know, the gap's down to 11 in terms of population, but what you'll notice is that Borg's now got 28 archers, which is a really decent amount of archers. And if we look at the other fourth, he's also got 18 archers. So whereas if it was Mauryans against, well, basically a faction that doesn't have archers, you've got that advantage that if you've got a large number of them, then by the time the Malay troops or skirmishers or whoever actually get near enough to attack your archers, they've already taken, in this case with Borg, 28 arrows, so chances are they're dead. They don't actually get a chance to respond. But because it's Persians, they also have archers, and in fact Persians have got a number of different archers. I think they also have a if we have a quick look, I can't find any soldiers at this point. There's one. They get a cavalry stables, and even though it says right click to view more information, it's not going to allow me to. But once they get a cavalry stables, or if there's one coming, no, that's not a cavalry stables. So if and when they get one, we can have a look and see exactly what's available from that. I have to say I'm not hugely familiar with Persians. I've not used them myself, whereas due to the recent video that I made that I've mentioned before, I've been playing as Mauryans for a while, and to be honest, I've really struggled to get a proper winning population against better players. Against newer players, actually, they've been really good because they've got quite a good array of troops available with some, well, archers specifically, but also swordsmen, and they have availability of this sword upgrade that the Iberians also have, which is just really good. It makes their swordsmen really strong, so they're quite useful as an attack force. So if we look now, he's got 48 archers now, which is a really, really good amount, and this will be a solid, really, really solid attacking force. He's only got the two. Oh, he's got, well, so 48. He's now actually, it's now 60. You know, it's not unusual on this sort of map actually to find people that have only got populations of 60 at this stage, and relatively decent players as well, not like complete beginners. And yet Borg has somehow managed to get a population of 60 archers. He's going to group those all together, and this is, well, there's just no chance for them. Very, very smart move as well. He got his cavalry to distract over there, so he's trying to send these troops out, but they should take out a couple of archers. But the problem that they've got is that these archers are just so, like, there's just so many of them. They're not actually particularly strong troops, but when there's such a large number, the combination of troops that he's got here is very, very good. He's lost both of his spearmen, but the spearmen gave him an advantage against the cavalry, so the cavalry's gone, and he's just fired off a phenomenal number of arrows. And from that, I mean, this is where the game really, really kicks off. We'll see he's starting a cavalry stable here, but with a group of, well, he only lost one archer in that whole exchange. This is going to be very, very difficult now for DoctorOrgans to combat. Oh, he's just briefly froze. And you see he's stopping him from gathering any food. So with these sort of rushes, if you can stop your opponent from gathering resources, then that is obviously very, very useful. If we just have a look over here, we can see roughly what he's got. He's got, yeah, of course, it's reasonable, but it's unlikely to be able to combat this large group of cavalry and archers. So the cavalry have gone off on one side. He's got his archers with one cavalry on the other side, and they are now, well, they've taken out one horseman. Unfortunately, with him attempting to grasp that, he's actually sent 20 women in by mistake. But you'll see what happens with the skirmishers. They, you know, by the time they're close enough to actually do something, they're already virtually dead. Like, there's so few of them. What these women are doing here, I've no idea. They're just causing themselves to, they're just marching to their deaths, which isn't very wise. He's also doing a little bit of jumping around, or DoctorOrgans is attempting to distract him with his breakdancing horse, and the breakdancing horse is having absolutely no impact whatsoever. So he's lost, well, 15 or so of his archers, but he has absolutely, annihilated DoctorOrgans' defending forces and continues to do so. So there's yet another one goes, and now if we look at this quickly, we'll see that DoctorOrgans is down to only 67 population, and it wasn't that long ago they were roughly even. Borg was ahead, but they were even. And if we just quickly, while that happens, have a look at what's been going on here, this is where you can see the sort of the genius of certain players. It's like he's also, he's building a market, he's continuing to collect resources, he's managed to build another storehouse in a good location. God, my computer's really struggling. That is really happening rather a lot. again, he's doing that. He's keeping the house building. It's really impressive how he does all of that at the same time as managing to launch a really, really good attack. So he's going to attempt to take over this barracks. That's not going to happen. The barracks is garrisoned with 10 people, so there's no chance that he'll be able to take it over. You see here he's getting it to 433, but no, it's not going to do it. That's just not possible. And on this side, Dr. Organs has done what you would hope, like what you would need to try and do if you're on this kind of rush, get to the other side of the map, and he's got a tower to defend him, so he's just trying to continue to collect wood as best as he can. Now, we've got these 44 archers. Now this is another piece of absolutely amazing play. You'll see that he's done a load of bartering. That market wasn't just going up for no reason whatsoever. He's managed to retain the resources now to build a town centre. So that's going to be up in just over half a minute. He doesn't actually... Oh, he's had a few people. Yeah. I'll take it back. He's actually been doing very well. He's got 16 people there and 8 here. He's managed to get 2 women to work on there. That's a mistake. He should have 1 on each. But, it's still, in the grand scheme of things, pretty impressive. And he's gone and even used his cavalry to attain some more food, which is very, very smart. So Dr. Organs is now desperately trying to rebuild. He's now going to try and finish this cavalry stable, which is going to take a little while longer. And he's got 7 more shield bearers on the way, but you can see that town centre, it's in a great location anyway, because it has, it's so close to the opponent's base and the territory that it gives you. But the other thing is that it's actually a really useful one for gathering wood. He's put it in a place where there's lots of trees, which is pretty helpful. And the archers now are just going to make sure that this doesn't go up, and you see everyone's just had to run back into the civic centre. Now the only thing that you can say on Dr. Organ's side at this point that's helpful is that archers aren't going to take down a civic centre. You're going to need slingers, really, or some kind of, if not slingers, then you need siege. And the Mauryans don't have siege, but what they do have is elephants. And if we have a look from Borg's perspective, it looks like he has enough to build an elephant stable. Whether he does that immediately or not, I don't know, but he's garrisoned. Oh, that's a thing. So he's garrisoned this with 5 archers who are going to... Well, this was so close to being built, and it's not quite going to. And we've got another tower going up here, which is, again, very, very sensible play. While these guys continue to gather wood. The distances are getting a bit worse, but I can totally see it's absolutely justified in his decision making there. This is all very smart, and what he should be able to do now is actually, these are covered, he can take over this storehouse and then he'll get access to this wood. So there you go, that's garrison, and there's no way that they can finish. It was so close to being finished, but now it's just not going to happen, which is pretty brutal. So sending his women out to do that, and in comes a blacksmith, which is a useful building to build in this case, because not only can he get upgrades, but he can it gives you quite a lot of territory as well. It's a good building in that sense. I don't think it gives quite as much territory as a barracks, but not far off. And he's also getting the upgrade for sentry towers, which will be another tower that comes from... Sorry, another arrow that's fired from his towers, which means that basically, if you look at the range there, it hits the metal and nearly hits the stone. And he's just building another house, which again claims a little bit more territory, and also deals with the fact that he was struggling for his housing population cap. And he's got 21 archers that are busy beavering away. They're going to build an elephant stable, which he managed to do just out of the sight of Dr. Organs, which is very, very, I think, fortuitous, because the chances of that being absolutely perfect as it is are pretty slim. But Dr. Organs actually at this point, I mean, he's still almost 50% of the population of Borg, but he's actually built up his population relatively well, considering the situation and the way that it's panned out. So now you can see that the the towers, and these archers are just going to finally finish off this cavalry stable. And he's now building a fortress. He's managed to get to phase 3, and a fortress is the obvious next step. That will give him access to heroes and other things, but what it does more than that, because the Mauryan heroes actually aren't the best, it will allow him to research upgrades more cheaply if he goes for one of the heroes. But other than that, there's just a big guardian elephant. Doesn't give any bonuses, but is pretty strong. So he could be useful. Or there's a healer, which again could be useful. You can see that Dr. Organs is trying desperately to keep himself in the game, but it's just going to be very, very difficult at this point. He's got no chance of getting the things that he really needs, so he's sending out as big a force as he can to try and attack, but he can't actually get his own his metal or his stone. Now I think there must be some metal or stone elsewhere on the map, because he has got some metal and stone, but he's got metal and this stone hasn't been touched. And he's trying to bring in as many people as he can, but there you go, war elephants coming in. They're going to head for the town centre very shortly. He's managed to kill off a lot of archers, but then there's more archers just behind them, and those archers will continue to move a tiny bit closer, and the elephants will, once they start doing something sensible, they will actually stop focusing on hitting these guys, which is of no use to them whatsoever, and instead they will go and attack the town centre. He's got 2 more elephants on the way. Now Dr. Organs is putting some people inside and trying to repair the town centre as much as he can, but what he really needs is for these elephants to die, and one of them has, and the other one is not far off, but he just needs it to finish that off, to give himself any kind of hope, and he has managed to do that. So he's going to continue building the thing, but as soon as those 2 elephants are gone, another 2 are on their way, and with this it's just, there's a certain inevitability about how this has panned out. The second base there, the second CC, was just in a brilliant location. The aggression they played with was absolutely fantastic. It looks like Dr. Organs is going to play on for a bit longer, but I don't really see the point in him doing so. This is all but gone. The town centre is on its way down. He's desperately trying to keep it up, but the people have been knocked out, and that is the end of that. So with no town centre, this puts him, actually he's still got control of quite a lot of the houses, but these are all going to gradually fall to Borg. He's taken over that tower because now there's no town centre. It's that much easier. Off comes the hero, but he's actually got nothing to do, and the elephant has managed to knock down another tower, and they're building a temple to heal up his troops, which are on the verge of death, but I don't think there'll even be the chance to do anything with that, because well, look at that, for a mass suicide. And there you go. That's that. This has been absolutely brutal. He's got 11 troops left, and I don't even know where the rest of them are. Are they in the houses or something? Oh no, he's got 8 troops, 3 of which are inside his barracks. He's let them out of his barracks. Why? I've no idea. He can't build any more. He's on 6 now, and there's all of 6 of his troops who are just wandering to their deaths, and that was just brutal, absolutely brutal, but an absolutely brilliant display from Borg. One of the most impressive performances I think I've ever seen. So yeah, that was actually the first kind of top player commentary that I've done. So hopefully you've learned something from that, because I certainly did. I was like, wow, that's just brilliant. But if you haven't, then you're insane, I suppose, because it was just brilliant and there was loads to learn. But other than that, thanks for watching, and have an enjoyable rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in a week's time.